Religion clearly is embedded in very different and very dynamic ways in political and social and economic systems. But it's not well understood how it's embedded by the mainstream development actors. Traditionally, religion and religious actors in the public sphere have been viewed by their critics as obstacles to progressive social change, to inclusive citizenship, and to the achievement of human development objectives. But what political liberalization has done, amongst many other things, is to open up spaces in which different political actors can start to develop roles. And that has led to both greater political inclusion and more opportunities for political rivalry and conflict. And it's into that religious actors have had more space to insert themselves. They clearly have a long history of political engagement. But this increased political space has enabled them to increase their influence and launch new political initiatives. So the research that was done in the program in our 4 countries of Pakistan, India, Nigeria, and Tanzania, and I'll make some heroic generalizations in what I'm going to say, and I'm very well aware I can be pulled up on some of the generalizations, but it's a question of time. The research teams found that the most striking change in those contexts in the post-colonial period has been a shift from the predominantly secular constitutional settlements which were agreed at independence to political arenas in which religious organizations play active roles. So the return of religion to public life has been marked by electoral mobilization by religious actors, by the co-optation by power holders of religious actors, and by new discourses centered on religious identity. It's also been marked by attempts by some religious groups to dramatically change the prevailing political order. So, for example, the demand by some Sikhs for secession in India. Some of those attacks have been crushed, and the demand for Sikh succession is one. It never went anywhere, that demand. But others continue to threaten the very viability of the state, and I think Pakistan is an obvious case in point. Does this new political space for religious actors actually raise the question of whether religious-based political parties might win political power? I would argue that that's possible, but probably only in the short term in most countries, and certainly in our case study countries. First of all, in some countries, religious-based political parties are not allowed. So Tanzania and Nigeria, they are not allowed. Doesn't mean to say existing parties won't reflect religious interests, but specifically religious parties are not allowed constitutionally. Second, even where they are, democracy may undercut the ability of religious extremists to take over, because in any of the faith traditions, there are both privileged people and disadvantaged people. And secular parties can take advantage of that to seek electoral support. So, for example, in India, the secular political parties seek support from marginalized parts of the religious traditions. Whereas in authoritarian regimes, their need for legitimacy can lead to the co-optation and empowerment of religious actors. And again, Pakistan is a case in point. And that can have adverse implications, both for democracy and for the achievement of development objectives. And thirdly, we can actually look at the record of regimes in which religion is either formally or informally integrated with politics, maybe through the establishment of an Islamic state or control by religious political parties, or permitting religious actors to exercise influence over decision-making. Their record in terms of improving governance and achieving human development objectives seems to be pretty poor. So a case study of the period of, in which the Islamist MMA alliance between religious political parties took over power in northwestern frontier province in Pakistan between 2002 and 2007 found that that integration of theology and religious political parties into government didn't, despite the rhetoric, make very much difference in terms of greater equality and social inclusion, and it definitely worsened the position of women and religious minorities. But even there, it was subject to challenge. Not only are there external challenges, but there were also internal challenges. And it's interesting that that regime was voted out of power after one term in office, because they didn't actually deliver on their rhetoric. And so I would suggest that even if religious political parties do succeed in getting access to power in democratic systems, they are by no means secure in being able to maintain that power.